I, 31 female, have been in a relationship with my boyfriend, 35, for 3 years. We have very different socioeconomic backgrounds. I'm normal and his family is minted. But despite that, we get along really well, and so do our separate friendship circles. The only exception is Stephanie, 35 female, one of my boyfriend's oldest friends. She does not like me at all, and since I've known Jamie, the boyfriend, she's made little digs about my accent and the region I'm from. This doesn't bother me. I'm comfortable with who I am, and the place I'm from is pretty great anyway, so she can say whatever she likes, but the way she says it is pretty mean. She tends to do this out of earshot of my boyfriend, but when he does hear, he defends me, and I'll make a joke to lighten the tension. I've asked Jamie if they were ever involved, as this is the only reason I think she wouldn't like me, totally discounting the idea that it might be my personality, and he says no. Anyway, 2 weekends ago, I went out to dinner with my brother while he was in town for a conference. I booked a place at a nice restaurant, and when we got there, it was comically romantic, and the server seated us in this little cubby of a corner with a candle, huddled together. About halfway through the meal, I go to the toilet. When I came back, my brother told me some bloke had just come up to him to ask if we were together, as in a couple. He said yes, because he thought it was weird, and he wondered if the guy was going to hit on me if we weren't a couple or something. I asked who it was, and he said he'd left right after. It was weird, but we finished our meals and laughed about it. I told my boyfriend about it when we returned to the flat, and we laughed. A couple of days later, Stephanie's over at ours. She waits until my boyfriend goes to the shop for wine, and then outright tells me with a huge smirk that she saw me with another man, and her husband confirmed he was another boyfriend. I was going to correct her and explain, but that smirk made me so angry, so I just said, "Please don't tell Jamie," expecting that she would, and that when she did, it'd be hilarious. I then told Jamie what she said, done once she left, and he thought it would be hilarious. I was correct that she'd tell Jamie, but it wasn't hilarious. Last Saturday at a mutual friend's birthday, everyone was there, including Stephanie. After a few drinks, she loudly announces that she has proof I'm cheating on Jamie because she saw my boyfriend and me in a restaurant. Jamie just looked at her and said that was her brother. It was so awkward. Everyone went silent. Stephanie's husband pulled her away, and they left the birthday. In hindsight, if I put her right, that wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't have ruined our other friend's birthday, and now no one is even talking to Stephanie. Am I the idiot? Should I apologize? If she was a true friend to your SO, she'd have told him in private right away. She didn't. She waited until she thought it was prime time to humiliate you, her gotcha moment. In my honest opinion, that makes her not only vindictive towards you, but a crappy friend to your SO. She clearly didn't have his best interest at heart, but wanted to capitalize on her dislike for you. Not the idiot. She hung herself. Pretty freaking glorious. I also dig the way your SO isn't putting up with any of his friends' BS. Also, I'm guessing this wasn't the first incident of pot stirring on Stephanie's part, because no one is talking to her. Seems like a good indication that they're tired of her crap. And also, to my mind, your brother's instincts were right. A random dude comes up and asks if you're taken, and you don't have time to say much? It's safer to say yeah. Stephanie deliberately waited until a large gathering to maximize your embarrassment, despite the fact that it would ruin another friend's birthday party. She deserved to have it blow up in her own face. By the way, you aren't the one who ruined the birthday. That's 100% on Stephanie. She got exactly what she deserved. LOL, that was great. Well played. I had my daughter pre-tween when I was 22. My sister was 25 at the time. I don't know when she became child-free. At my baby shower, she had a frown on her face the whole time and would say things like, "Oh, another expensive gift. Wow, I could pay my rent if I sold that." My pregnancy was quite scary, but everything turned out fine. When my family came to the hospital to greet and hold her, my sister refused to even touch her. She explained that she doesn't like small kids, especially babies, and never wants to have them. I was quite sad at this and asked her why she wouldn't even want to interact with her own family just because she doesn't like or want kids. She just shrugged and handed me a congrats card. The rest of the family was horrified, and she kind of became an outcast at that point. She was always starting some kind of drama with someone. Fast forward to now. A couple of months ago, she started showing more interest in my daughter. She'd call and ask what her favorite colors and movies were, drop her presents off on my door. Finally, I asked her why she wanted to get to know my daughter after all this time. She said it was because my daughter was older and wasn't just a screaming baby. She can hold a conversation now, so I think we'll get along just fine. I shook my head and said that she made her decision not to interact with her years ago. I told her she just doesn't get to decide when she wants to act like an aunt, randomly. I don't even think you love her. How could you? You don't even call me half the time. She said she was trying to be an aunt, and I just had to give her a chance. I told her I had tried giving her many chances and she blew it. She called me an idiot. She said I couldn't let go of the past, and that she knew me getting pregnant was the end of the sister she once knew. She hung up and I told my husband everything. He says I have every right not to let her in my daughter's life, but I feel unsure. The rest of the family agrees. Edit. After the family started shutting her out, she did talk crap about the baby and me on social media, to others, etc. Despite this, I gave her many other chances to apologize and be in her niece's life, but she blew it every time. Plus, she had a problem way before I even got pregnant. Unfortunately, she wasn't pleasant to be around, and most people were done dealing with her. Although she did stop the drama after a while, she didn't keep talking crap for 8 years, but the damage was and is done. Not the idiot. Decisions have consequences. Being child-free is fine, but refusing to interact with someone for almost a decade and then acting like she can just waltz back in and everything will be smooth sailing is ridiculous. Life doesn't work like that. She's only thinking of herself and not your child. Your child is a stranger to her. They have no bond. She missed out on her entire life and now selfishly wants back in? You don't need to give her a chance if it means protecting your daughter from people that aren't good for her. Exactly. Your sister may nope out of your daughter's life again after 6 months or a year. She considers your daughter optional. She's not. Therefore, you must be her advocate and protector. If you want to give your sister a chance, she can see your daughter when she's with you, your mother, husband, or some trusted relative. It sounds like the sister was jealous of all the attention that OP and her baby were getting and was resentful of them for that. If OP's sister can't be supportive and happy for her, she might not have the patience to be around even a pre-tween. Everyone's the idiot here. Note that she didn't pull herself from the life of her niece. She was banned by the entire family after what she said after the birth, aka not liking to hold babies. Such a crime. OP herself said it. I don't think that her sister liked being treated like an outsider by all the family just because OP was hurt by the fact that her sister wasn't gushing around her new treasure. It reeks of golden child versus scapegoat, to be honest. When I think about it, I would love to hear the sister side. I have 2 children, Laurel, 24, and Kevin, teen. Laurel is from my first marriage. Kevin and my wife think I favor Laurel, but that's not true. They've complained about it over the years, but now it's at a boiling point. The most recent complaint is that I gave her a free house. None of their accusations have ever been true, but this one isn't. I've been with the same company for over 35 years. Decades ago, my job made me and several other employees travel to their HQ so often that they bought us condos in the home city because it was cheaper at the time than constantly paying for hotels. At the time, property in the city was cheap, so we had free use, but technically, the company owned them and they paid all expenses. In 2020, all business travel stopped. At the time, Laurel was moving to that city with her new husband, and they were looking for a place. Because it was just sitting empty, and would be for a long time, I told her that they could live in the condo until things went back to normal. It would be safe and clean, and it would give them a chance to save money for a better place of their own, as they were expecting their first child. In 2021, 2 things happened. The company decided to shut down all physical offices for a permanent work from home, and I decided to take my retirement. After closing the physical offices, they wanted to get rid of the condos, so they offered them to us at an extreme discount. I didn't want it, but Laurel did. She and her husband offered to pay the cost, and I let them. It was less than a fourth of the market cost, but it wasn't free or a gift to her. Kevin realizes there will not be anything like that for him, and he rages about it. He claims I've always done things like this, and that I gave her a house, but I'm probably going to kick him out at 18, like every other American parent. My wife is on his side and angry about this, and that I let Laurel be a stay-at-home mother and not her. None of these things are true. I didn't give her a free house. I let her buy one for a discount because she happened to be buying at the exact time that there was an opportunity for one. Also, she got to be a stay-at-home mother because she happened to be having a baby at the only time in modern history that required people to stay home, not because I was funding her. I realize how it must look, but she ended up doing things in special situations with unique opportunities. I don't think I'm in the wrong here because I don't treat my children differently. If I happen to come across an opportunity for Kevin to do the same with the same, I will make sure he's aware, but I can't imagine I would. Not the idiot, but honestly, I feel like your wife is the source of what Kevin is spewing out. What teen boy cares about housing? What evidence do your wife and son have that you'll stop supporting him at 18? It seems like your wife is using Kevin to try and get you to buy a property in his or her name to even the scoring between Kevin and Laurel. My thoughts exactly. There isn't a way any teen on their own would suddenly realize there's not going to be anything like that for him. I can't get my head around the entitlement here. You are the idiot. The fact that both your wife and Kevin noticed the favoritism probably means that this isn't just in their heads. The condo thing is pretty bad, to be honest. Yes, it's a good opportunity for the daughter, but it's so grossly unfair to both the wife and Kevin. You could have bought the condo, flipped it, rented it out, etc. That money could have gone towards a myriad of things for you, your entire family, put aside for Kevin's college, etc. But instead you gave your daughter a place to live at a steep discount. That helps nobody but her. The reason it looks bad is because it's pretty obvious that you favor Laurel. So OP should kick out his daughter with a newborn during a global issue from a property that doesn't belong to him because a mid-teen is throwing a tantrum? Nice. Laurel wanted to buy a house, and OP had the opportunity to get her one at a discount, so he did. How is denying Laurel the opportunity just because you can't provide Kevin with the same opportunity fair? My mom, 38, cheated on my dad, 41, and was apparently seeing a few other guys starting about 8 years ago. I don't know how my dad found out, but when he did, obviously he asked for a divorce. My dad works a lot, and I, teen male, haven't been that close with my mom either. So basically, I don't prefer either of them. My parents asked who I wanted to live with, and I never saw my mom the same way after what she did. I don't know whether I would be extreme and say she destroyed our family, but to be honest, I can't help but hate her a little. So I said I'd rather stay with my dad. My mom only has her sister in her life, while my dad has a huge family on his side. When I said I'd rather stay with my dad, my mom lost it and started full-on sobbing, and she looked hurt. Her sister was there and started to comfort her and told me, "How can a boy abandon his mother like that? You should be ashamed of yourself." My mom left the house, and the next day my aunt came to visit again, and she told me that I should have chosen my mom because my dad already had his whole family to help him through this, but my mom only had me. Now I'm starting to rethink what I said, and even though I still kind of hate my mom, I don't know if I was being an idiot by doing this, and if I shouldn't have let my anger overcome me. Am I the idiot? My aunt says she's devastated. Not the idiot. It sounds like she has many men who can keep her company. She made her bed. Oh, and your aunt is the idiot too. How was it your fault that your mother was unfaithful? She's facing the consequences of her actions. Yes, OP, tell your idiot aunt to mind her own business. She needs to take her opinions and her outdated sexism somewhere else. You're dealing with your parents' divorce, and the tough situation and decisions it presents you with as their child doesn't need to be made worse by your busybody guilt tripping. And your mom has her own set of problems she needs to deal with. If she wanted an open marriage, she should have asked for one. And if dad said no, Then she got a divorce. She needs to work on some way to rebuild her integrity. If she was relying on child support to get by, she needed to develop some self-sufficiency, and the emotional support help she needs should come from a counselor, not from her teen son. OP, you are a teen. It is not your job to take care of your mother. It's your parents' job to take care of you. Make your choice based on what's best for you, not them. Can we also touch on how these grown adults emotionally manipulate this teenager? At least as Ann is. Anyone who does that is an automatic idiot. It's not OP's job to help Mother Dearest through a situation she created entirely on her own through deceitful and disgusting choices. OP, you are a person, not her emotional support animal. My female 27, friends of 15 years, Aaron, male 30, passed away a few weeks ago. He wasn't married nor had a family. I'm the one responsible for his belongings and his apartment. I keep the key with me to visit the apartment every weekend to check on it. My boyfriend noticed and asked for a copy of the key to the apartment. I was utterly confused by his request. I asked what for, since he and Aaron weren't even that close, given that he and I had been dating for 6 months. He got offended and accused me of gatekeeping Aaron's memory. I said I was sorry, but Aaron's apartment has valuable stuff that I cannot risk going missing. And besides, what business could he possibly have there? He got offended and accused me of implying that he's untrustworthy and a thief. I tried to cut the argument, but he kept going on about how I hurt his feelings and showed incredible distrust towards him. He went home, but the texting kept going. Finally, he's insisting, saying if I trust him, I have to let him have a key copy. Am I the idiot for not giving it to him? Or am I being unreasonable and paranoid? Not the idiot. Trust your instincts. Do not give him a copy of that key, and do not leave it where he can access it. This is a major red flag, and it's time to reevaluate your relationship. He is gaslighting you about your friend who died to access his things. This is not a good guy. Accused me of gatekeeping Aaron's memory? What the heck? And now we get to accuse your boyfriend of gaslighting. Please do not give him or any other idiot a key. He is gaslighting you into believing you're the bad guy for your instincts, kicking in and telling you something shady could happen if you give him the key. But as you know, you're in the right here. I second this. What does he want in that apartment? Why the weird attitude? You just lost your best friend. He should be helping you through this, not pushing you to do something you don't want to do. You've known this friend for 15 years. Your boyfriend of 6 months has no reason to be in this person's home, with or without you, unless you want him there. Ditch the loser. He asked you because he wanted to steal things, throw a party, bring chicks there, or simply test the limits with you. Therefore, do not give him a copy of the key and keep the one you have secured. It's not about trust. I can be trusted not to steal from a bank vault, but it doesn't mean I need a key to the thing. I know it may be a hassle, but I'd even be setting up a camera until you're done dealing with it. And maybe don't have this boyfriend anymore. My 24 male, father 78, had fallen seriously ill a while back and had to be admitted to the hospital. The issue, though, is that my brother, 25, was against giving him any treatment. When my girlfriend and I told him that he wasn't well, he refused to admit him there. He said that my dad was old and that unnecessary medicines would just cause him more suffering and prolong it, and that he deserved to pass away peacefully at home. I told him that was ridiculous and that I would get him treated. He flipped out at that and said he should be the one deciding, as he's older, and that I have no idea what I'm talking about. I said I didn't care, and that he couldn't stop me from getting my father medical treatment. He and his girlfriend protested, but I wouldn't budge. He asked me how I would pay the money, as it would be really expensive. I told him I would use what I could, but that I would mortgage the house by asking my father to give me power of attorney if funds were low. He was conscious even though he was really unwell. Then my brother got really mad at that and said that I couldn't threaten to spend his inheritance or blackmail him and to mind my language. but I wouldn't back down and took Dad to the hospital. My brother didn't immediately accompany me, but arrived at the hospital later to check on him, etc. He was also having a long conversation with my dad in private with his girlfriend and seemed to care a lot now. But he's not talking to me because he said I don't know how to respect him and that I was being really discourteous, etc. Am I the idiot for threatening my brother to mortgage the father's house? Edit. I didn't want to ask my dad whether I should let him die because that would be a horrible thing to say. I wanted to treat him regardless of what he said in case he thought he'd be a burden and would have asked us to let him go away when the time had come. Not the idiot. His inheritance? My God, your brother is a huge idiot, not only because he's not entitled to anything your dad has, but the fact that your dad's not even dead, and all he can think is how much money he's going to get is just despicable. I realize it might be an uncomfortable conversation, but you need to discuss this with your father and see what he would like to do regarding treatment. I disagree. OP, what an absolutely selfish and inconsiderate attitude. It's not a horrible thing to let people decide. I watched my father die last year, and I was at his bedside for his last week. It was awful for me, my mom, my family, his friends, and everyone. But we all knew he was dying and it hurt. But ultimately, we helped him pass on how he wanted to pass on. That's what it means to be a good son in that situation. Your wishes don't matter. Only his does. It's a fact that we all die. Your father has a choice and almost certainly has an opinion of how he wants to die. And you're being a selfish, inconsiderate jerk by not talking to him. You are the idiot. Also, your brother's an idiot too. His inheritance? Bah! It's your father's house, and like everything else he owns. So as long as he lives, it's his to do what he wants with it. It's not yours to mortgage. If he's competent enough to sign a power of attorney, he's also currently competent enough to make his own decisions. Everyone's the idiot, you and your brother. Neither of you seems to have made an effort to talk to him. It's his decision. Please work with the doctors and figure out what he wants and what's possible. I'm a single mom, female 42, of 4. Arden, young female teen. Bryony, a female tween. Robin, a male tween. And Kaya, a female pre-tween. All of us except Robin are deaf, with ASL as our first language. Arden and Bryony's dad, 46, left when the girls were toddlers, and I met Kaya's dad, Alex, 43, shortly after. He had just come into custody of his nephew, Robin. Robin's bio mom, Layla, 47, gave Robin up to focus on recovering from her long-term addiction. Robin is fully aware of who his bio mom is, but considers Alex his dad, and has called me his mom since the age of 2 to 3-ish. Layla has told me in the past how grateful she is for me filling that role, and that she feels more like Robin's aunt than his mom. All this to say, when Alex was diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago, it was pretty clear to us that I would continue to raise Robin as my son after Alex's death. Alex passed away in June, and ever since, his mom, my mother-in-law, has been causing problems. While she's never been outwardly hostile towards me and my children, she often complains about our use of ASL. Most of the family learned at least some basics to support communication, but mother-in-law insisted she was too old and couldn't do it, and has made comments in the past about my inability as a mother due to my deafness. My older girls are practically non-existent to her, and she often forgets that Kaya's her grandchild too, and focuses solely on Robin. Mother-in-law spent most of the funeral telling people that I was unfit and trying to steal Robin away from his real family. It was hurtful, to say the least, and made me uncomfortable welcoming mother-in-law into my home after that. But I convinced myself that it was for the benefit of the kids. They'd just lost their dad. I didn't want to take away a grandparent too. Last Saturday, Robin came back from an outing with mother-in-law, looking miserable. He wouldn't talk to anyone about what had happened, and spent the rest of the weekend shut away in his room. I tried to ask mother-in-law what was happening, but she didn't answer my messages. Finally, Robin broke down in tears asking me if Grandma was going to take him away. It turns out that mother-in-law has repeatedly told Robin that she'll take him away from us, even telling him that she'll call CPS on me to remove the kids. On Saturday, mother-in-law had gone even further, saying she could drive away with him and he'd never have to see us again. I immediately sent mother-in-law a message informing her that she was no longer welcome in my home or near any of the kids. I let Layla know what was going on and that she was still welcome to visit or have Robin stay if mother-in-law was nowhere nearby. My phone has been blowing up since, with people asking me to reconsider. I haven't said anything about what happened, so I can only assume mother-in-law is spreading false information. Still, all the negative responses are making me doubt if I'm actually in the right here. Not the idiot. You should not let this woman anywhere near the boy. This mother-in-law is a danger to Robin. You must protect him. You should probably contact your local police to discuss the issue. Perhaps engage an attorney if you can afford it. Please notify the school not to let her near your son, that she's threatening to abduct him. OP, you need to take this seriously. Contact the police, school, friends, everyone who has contact with Robin. Everyone must be aware of what's going on. She's scarring your child. She and Robin being alone would never be permitted again. If Robin wants to visit her, and if mother-in-law is paying, you might all possibly meet in the office of a family counselor. Honestly, I'd call CPS myself, especially after that drive away stuff. That's not something you can mess around with. Granny has gone round the bend and could run off with your son at a moment's notice now. It has to be something you, as a responsible parent, prevent. If you have to do that by going no contact, do it. Your mother-in-law is most likely a narcissist, and the people agreeing with her are sometimes called flying monkeys. Block her and anyone who agrees with her. Being deaf is not a reason to remove your children. It's getting to be the rainy season where I work. It'll rain for the next 4 or 5 months, daily. I was packing up my stuff to take to work, and I was packing my boot dryer. My wife hoped I could leave it at home since they needed it too. I was interested, so I asked why she needed it. She said she does lunch supervision once a week and that our son shovels snow. I asked if this lunch supervision soaked her boots for 10 hours a day for weeks on end, and that the same question went for my son and his constant snow shoveling. She said no, and that I was making her feel stupid and useless by pointing out that I needed the boot dryer to be comfortable at my job. I feel bad I made her feel this way, but an adult should be able to understand that stuff without being told. You are the idiot. If your family would benefit from having one at home, but you need one at work, why don't you buy one for the house? Why isn't that the automatic response? I need this one for work, but let's price out a second one for home and put it in the budget. Why is the default talk to your partner like they're a moron? Because then OP would miss out on the opportunity to be condescending. You are the idiot for speaking to her like a dumb child. She asked you a simple question that required a simple answer, not, does this lunch supervision soak your boots too? Huh? Do they? Well, do they? Buy your wife a boot dryer, dude. I was gonna say, even the way he wrote her lines was like, so polite and reasonable. He didn't even gussy it up to lie and make her seem more silly or unreasonable. If anything, it sounds like she was sort of like passively saying they could use one for both places. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, she said in a knowing voice. The dummy just didn't take the hint and was kind of a jerk about it and is now getting dunked on online. Update. It turns out I'm definitely the idiot. As I stated, it takes weeks for deliveries here. There was a package waiting for me when I arrived at camp. My wife had purchased a new, very good boot dryer for me and was trying to surprise me. She didn't want me to lug my old one up. I've already called her and apologized. I have 2 kids from my ex-wife, a son, teen, and a daughter, 20. They're entirely different when it comes to academics. Our daughter did well in school, was a straight-A student, did sports, and wanted to be a lawyer. Our son struggles more with school, doesn't do sports, and doesn't know what he wants to do once he graduates. The two of them aren't close at all. It was my daughter's birthday yesterday, and we had a relatively large party for her. My side of the family, my ex's, and my daughter's friends. When it was time to cut the cake, my ex made a speech about our daughter's accomplishments and how she'd be successful in the future. At the end of the speech, she said, "Hopefully son's name gets his act together and gets better grades," which upset our son. Ex noticed that our son was upset, and she continued to push the issue, saying that she was worried and that he wouldn't have a future if he kept this up. By then, the party was already tense. Some of the family chimed in and took my ex aside. My son was arguing back and insulted his sister in the process. The party was ruined at this point, which upset my daughter. After the mess ended, my ex-wife came to me saying that we needed to get our son's jealousy issues under control because he shouldn't have ruined his sister's birthday party like that. I reminded her that the party wouldn't have been ruined if she didn't mention our son during her speech about my daughter. She claims I'm making things worse. Most of my side and her side of the family side with my ex, saying my ex didn't ruin it by being a concerned mother. I don't see what they're concerned about. Our son is on track to graduate. His grades are just average. But I have all these texts saying that my son needs to apologize or get therapy for the insults he said to his sister. Am I the idiot? Edit. After insulting his sister a lot, my ex asked if he cared about his sister at all, and he responded by saying that he didn't, and he didn't care if she lived or died. That's why they think he needs therapy. I talked to my daughter recently. She was upset about her party being ruined, and she felt embarrassed. She hasn't talked to her mother or anyone else in the family that sides with her mother because she doesn't agree with what her mother did. She didn't know her brother hated her that much. They rarely ever talked, but she didn't think of him in that same way. You're not the idiot, but boy, oh boy, your ex-wife is a massive idiot. I likely would have reacted the same way if I were the son. His mother called him out for no reason at a family gathering. How did she expect him to react? She didn't need to take a shot at your son publicly. Of course he'd get upset when she called him out in front of his extended family. You should talk to your son and tell him that you're there for him and support him. Oh, I bet she'll be shocked when your son goes no contact. Honestly, she's awful. If I were your son, I would no longer interact with her. Time to limit interaction between your ex and son. Also, get him therapy, because a mother like that leaves scars. Your ex sounds narcissistic and emotionally abusive. Moreover, she's greatly contributed to destroying further the links between your children. She's perhaps even the reason why they're not close, if this is her usual behavior around them. Hopefully one day when they're a little older and have some perspective, they'll understand that their mother is the reason they don't get on well. Sounds like she actively keeps them at odds to maintain control. When the children finally figure this out, they will resent their mother tremendously. I'm a first grade teacher, and my daughter's a preschool teacher. She's a second-year teacher. She was a teaching assistant for a year while she got the credits required to teach. Her school opened a second location with one classroom, and she currently runs the area from 12 to 6:30 every day. When she started working at the school, I noticed she was running to the Dollar Tree or Walmart to grab little things for her classroom, like hair ties, stickers, beads, and string. She said she didn't mind because it was all cheap and made her job more manageable. Then when she got her own classroom, she started looking on Nextdoor and Buy Nothing and shopping for her classroom more often. She has 24 outfits to store in her class, 3 in each size from 2 to 5 for boys and girls, in case the parents forget to send new clothes. She has a box of pull-ups in case a kid has an accident and doesn't have a spare pair of underwear. She has extra snacks. She has extra jackets and socks, a pack of combs and brushes, extra nap bedding, and bins of what she calls stalling activities, easy things she can pull out when she needs to stall. She even has Halloween costumes in case one of her students doesn't have one, and she gives away blankets and jackets if she thinks a student needs them. I told her that all of this is excessive and she should leave it up to the school's owner to get these things. She said the owner says these things aren't necessary, but they don't cost much and make her classroom run more smoothly. I told her that if the owner says it's unnecessary, don't get these things and let her see how the class runs without them. I told her I don't spend any money on my classroom and that if my principal isn't willing to buy it, the kids don't need it. She says it's different because I work at a $30,000 plus per year private school and she teaches in a lower income community. But I still told her that it's not her responsibility. I also told her that her buying stuff for her classroom makes all of us that don't look bad, but she doesn't care. She's upset with me for being pushy, but I'm just doing what's best for her. Am I the idiot for telling my daughter not to spend money on her classroom because it makes the rest of us look bad? You are the idiot. She says it's different because I work at a $30K plus per year private school and she teaches in a lower income community, but I still told her it's not her responsibility. Let her do nice things for these kids who don't have the luxury of attending a private school. You're being a bit paranoid that stocking her low-income classroom with goodies could make your private classroom look bad. Look bad to who exactly? Are your private school kids taking field trips to your daughter's school? Exactly. I thought they were working at the same school, but they're not. So how does what the daughter do make her look bad? The only judgment OP's feeling right now is her own self-judgment. She's realized that she's a worse, less caring person than her daughter, and it's easier for her to try to hide the evidence by convincing her daughter to be less charitable than her, for her to make herself the kind of person she wishes she was. Imagine being more worried about how someone else doing an act of kindness that has nothing to do with you makes you look than about whether kids have a jacket. Imagine being so self-absorbed that instead of being proud of your daughter for genuinely caring for the well-being of children, you're annoyed that people might think less of you, when literally no one is making that comparison but you. Now imagine being the only person in these kids' lives who cares if they have an accident at school, only to have your mother tell you that you're trying to upstage her. OP needs to get over themselves, and maybe she shouldn't be teaching. Your daughter does not make you look bad, but your lack of care for these children having necessities sure does. Yes, lady, you are the idiot.